Yes, we can.
Excellent.
I think you just need to just click onto your actual slides because we can see the show presenter view menu
Right.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is it clear now?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, so my name is Kanchana. I'm from University of Wollongong, and thank you for your introduction. And this is actually part of my PhD research, which I did. I try to understand how we can nurture gender inclusion within the construction industry, the organizations, and then the research which I'm presenting today is a kind of an outcome or one of my observations. And we thought of putting it as a separate research, and we name it as Do Sustainability Focused Values Help to Transform Construction Work Cultures from Being Gender to Gender Inclusive? And then the research motivation, actually, I did a couple of research based on STEM industries, like such as IT. And then when I start my PhD, I got a chance to join a construction project, work with a construction project without being an engineer or without having that STEM background. But I got a chance to work with the construction field, and then I just try to understand like how it goes with, and then the gender composition in the industry. And then I realized in Australia the construction industry has the lowest female participation. Sometimes it's going hand in hand with mining, but at the moment is the lowest female participation. And um, like looking at the presentations today, the keynote speech and as well as other presentations, I realized that still it's a big problem where we all try to get more female, the real female representation, not just the numbers, increase in numbers, but we need real inclusion to the industry. And then the Australia actually want to achieve the gender equality, the number 5, the Sustainable Development Goal, and like looking at the presentations and the other research, I could see like the people, the scholars trying to, like they have different approaches. So I just used a qualitative approach to understand how gender inclusion could be nurtured within the construction industry. Um, and the if I talk about the background and the problem identification, like so we all talk about inclusion, but it's what is inclusion? It's actually a feeling, like how like so if I'm here and then you just all welcome me, and then I feel this, okay, I'm belong to this group, being different, but belong to this group, and so everybody welcome me. It's so nice. So this is kind of like part of the inclusion. So whenever it comes to inclusion, the individual or groups needs to feel that it's all determined by the others' behavior, the existing leadership approaches and the norms, practices, the values of the co-workers, the people around us, as well as supervisors, leaders, managers. And whenever the people, those who are around us, if they have more gender prominent behaviors, if they're more towards like one prominent gender in construction industry, obviously is masculine or male dominant behaviors, in that case it may be a challenge for the marginalized groups to feel this inclusion, feel included, or they feel the sense of inclusion. And therefore I identified that there's a need for construction industry or the construction organizations, if they want to transform to gender inclusive context, it is very essential to examine how we can transform or change these behaviors or norms, values, or how they are shaped and reshaped in the organization, and how is there any possibility for us to transform these behaviors in order to provide this sense of inclusion for all the employees, not just women, not just men, so everybody in the workforce. And the inclusion, it's defined as degree to which an employee perceives that he or she is an esteemed member of work group and experiences treatment that satisfies his or her needs for belongingness and uniqueness. So it's really important to understand this belongingness and uniqueness as key constructs in inclusion, where if we otherwise we may end up with promoting just belongingness or maybe promoting just uniqueness, but not the two constructs together. So if you look at this exclusion criteria, where we all know that the individual or maybe a group not feel included at all, it's not treated as inside the group, or not accepted the unique values the person might bring in. And differentiation is other way around. It's like maybe accept for the uniqueness, the unique values he or she can bring, but again, the individual is not treated as an organizational insider within the work group. And assimilation, the other way around. There can be high belongingness, maybe treated the individual as one of the group members, but again, the individual has to adopt or change self according to the majority. If that's the case, the person might get some sort of like, okay, welcome to our group, but you need to change a little bit according to the majority. So the part of my research, I found that in most of the cases, the construction industry, the employees, the engineers and supervisors and leaders, they have either gendered mindset, which maybe ended up with giving kind of exclusion feeling to the female, or differentiation. And with these diversity programs, sometimes the organizations tend to set this gender neutral mindset as well, where accepting like welcoming the different gender groups, the marginalized groups to the workplace, but still not giving a chance for them to show their unique values. So they have to just change themselves or becoming one of the boys in the group. So what we are looking for actually inclusion. So inclusion is the one should feel the high sense of belongingness and there should be high acceptance for the uniqueness the person could bring into. So in that case, there should be a holistic mindset for everyone. The norms, values, practices, behaviors, even the organization policies and everything should encourage this holistic perspective. It should not be the gendered or gender neutral, but it's something more than that, more than gender neutral mindset, where we accept others as it is or for who they are. So my overarching research question was, how can gender inclusion be achieved in the construction engineering industry? And the part of my research, I just connected sustainability focused engineering and the ethics of care with inclusion. And I found that when an organization moves beyond with sustainability focus, when they nurture sustainability focused ideologies, there can be a possibility for them to improve the careness among the workforce. Therefore, I just try to link sustainability, focused thinking, the ideologies, plus ethics of care theory. The ethics of care theory is talking about how we can express care. In that case, like the 4 constructs we could see in ethics of care, where like being attentive, to know that there's a need for care. So we all need to understand that there's a need for inclusion, and the being responsible. So understanding that we all responsible towards nurturing inclusion. So I just took that construct from ethics of care, being responsible, and the competence, what sort of skills, values we need to have in order to show care. In my case, in order to provide this sense of inclusion to everyone around us. And then the responsiveness, it's about feedback. So finally, to understand whether we achieve the what we aim for, that is the sense of inclusion. So yeah, I got all these because as I told you earlier, I got a chance to work within a construction project. So together we build a house, a sustainability focused house, which cater people with dementia. And then we built this house in Dubai and representing Australia, and won the second place in that competition. And my observation, throughout my observation, I um, realized that the both men, women who work in this project, like they seemed kind of happy, and then they share the experiences, knowledge with each other, kind of less discrimination for women. So likewise, so this was the place where I realized maybe I can link sustainability focused thinking towards nurturing inclusion. And then I move on to the industry with more than 12 organizations. I conducted 35 in-depth interviews with senior managers, HR managers, engineers, and professional leaders from different organizations, small, medium, and large organizations. And then I just discuss with them and to understand how they define, how they understand sustainability, how they understand these caring approaches, and how they understand achieving inclusion. And then using those data, I try to make link or try to identify whether there's a link between these concepts. And these are the couple of my findings. So um, these male managers talk about sustainability-based agenda needs to take into consideration the well-being of employees. So when it comes to sustainability, we normally think about it's talking about economic values, so environmental values, but the people actually dealing with sustainability in construction, there's a tendency to think about um, like most people think about sustainability. They think it's all about environment, but that's only a part of it. Any business to be sustainable not only has to be environmental friendly, they also have to look after the staff and their people. So there's a kind of tendency for them to have this open mind or the holistic mind to understand what's going on around them. So this may be like a good approach for us to understand inclusion, the need for inclusion. And sustainability focused thinking can help change people's thinking patterns. So this female engineer believes like sustainability focused thinking can help changing people's thinking than in the traditional engineering. So it says, according to her, sustainability is a value addition for any organizational culture. It's a must for every organization. So she feels like that. And probably with time, when we evolve into that culture, when we work in that culture, it will have an impact on how people think and how they look at problems. So it's like it gives the sustainability, working towards sustainable world. She believes like we can change the way we think, and I guess it will become sensitive not only to the environment but also to another work colleague that they work with. Isn't that a good move? So another female architect just talk about sustainability can be taken as a platform to nurture inclusive values around professionals. So they use sustainability, like whatever the workshops or the trainings, or as their projects, sustainability focused projects, they use these to understand things around themselves and to improve certain values, for example, empathy, care, and maybe communication with others. So these are important skills, norms to increase sense of inclusion as well. So sustainability needs to support people, and it needs to be thinking about people and their needs, and that needs to be inclusive of all type of diversity, not just gender. And yeah, here she just like she wanted to have like diversity with like all type of diversities, not just gender. If people really do have a holistic understanding of sustainability and are able to use that, change the way that they function as a professional. So it's like changing mechanism. And sustainability and caring values, this male senior managers talk about engineering needs to add that extra level of empathy and a bit of caring. So I think that absolutely vital, and that's what um, just bear with me. Yeah, can you see it?
We can just see you at the moment, Kanchana.
All right, okay, just bear with me. Yeah, so now you can see, right? So sustainability and caring values. So this senior manager just said that really need to have, like, we can use sustainability focus work practices to improve or increase its empathy and caring among the professionals. So we can use that for spreading out these inclusive feelings as well. And about responsiveness, or it's we need to really careful with the sustainability focused practices, because sometimes we tend to maybe locate sustainability focused practices, caring, empathy, and those kind of traits. It's just as a feminine trait. And that's what this male senior managers is talk about. Sustainability should not be misused as an alternative way to pigeonhole underutilized feminine values, because he just told me, like, he's in a large manufacturing construction consultancy firm, and he said, like, when he look at the organizational hierarchy, and he realized that most of the women stuck in sustainability or environmental engineering, and he just said that's also not good. So we need to be very careful when you're talking about sustainability. We can use sustainability focused thinking, the ideologies, just to spread or to understand the need for inclusion, and to understand there's a responsibility for everyone, and to understand what skills we need to nurture. But sustainability is not a kind of pigeonhole where we can the female ultimately go and stagnate. So that also is essential thing to understand. And on top of all, this was my favorite quote from a male project manager, thinking that to bring inclusion, I think there's a role for everyone. It's not just an organization's role or manager's role. So everybody together needs to work beyond um, the existing diversity or affirmative policies in their organizations. They all need to understand that the true meaning of inclusion, and these two constructs of inclusion, sense of belongingness and uniqueness. So otherwise, it's really hard for organizations to move with policies and affirmative actions and things like that if all the stakeholders, particularly internal stakeholders like employees, the peers, and everybody needs to work together to achieve this gender inclusion. So like that's what he said, to bring inclusion. I think there's a role for everyone. You cannot function as an organization without people who value inclusion. So I just thought that there are lots of research in terms of diversity and inclusion in gendered organizations, particularly construction industry in Australia. But the most of the focus actually with diversity policies, affirmative actions, and what organizations can do. But I think like our discussion should move forward with what we all can do in order to achieve gender inclusion. So we can't ask women to change themselves, or like rather asking that maybe we all need to understand that everybody has their unique skills, unique style of working. So maybe we can encourage them to show up their skills. So there should be a platform to everyone to work in as they are. So there's no single dominant study for explaining how key inclusion constructs belongingness and uniqueness can be achieved. There are studies that talk about like how we can achieve belongingness or how we can achieve uniqueness. But I think we need more studies which connect both these constructs together. So that's what I use ethics of care theory in connection with inclusion to understand whether we can use sustainability as a platform to nurture gender inclusion within the construction industry. So the implications, perhaps the engineering organizations, construction engineering organizations could modify their value orientations to encompass sustainable work practices, which may lead to have holistic mindset. There are in traditional engineering, so they might be able to look at a big picture and then understand the real issue behind, real challenges behind this inclusion. And the professional associations and governments can consider mechanisms to recognize and reward. I know we do have all these rewarding systems. Perhaps we can add sustainability focused initiatives as one of criteria to in order to achieve inclusion. And education institutions like universities and technical institutes can organize sustainability focused projects like in our university. So where the students can work more towards sustainable building construction projects, and they work together interdisciplinary. Students can join, so everybody learn from each other, but need to make sure that community-based projects and sustainability and environmental projects to promote feminine value orientations must be implemented carefully. The current findings of the study demonstrate that and the overemphasis on sustainability as well as feminine gender ideas might instill existing gender preconceptions and impede predict a beneficial effect. So we need to be very careful when we're talking about sustainability and environmental science. It's not just female thing. We need to use sustainability focused practices to broaden our thinking pattern, to encourage the holistic mindset among everyone. So thank you all for listening. And then I would like to get some feedback to improve my study. Yeah. Thank you.